What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. New Year's 6th day, continuing on the channel again. All 6 New Year's 6 bowl game preview and predictions will be up today. That includes the college football playoff later tonight. But we're diving on into our second SEC Big Ten showdown of the New Year's 6 bowl game season, and this one taking place from the Chik-Fil-A Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the Ole Miss Rebels. It's the Penn State Nittany Lions. Should provide another must-see game, much like what we just previewed there with Ohio State and Missouri earlier today. We're going to dive on into everything Rebels and Nittany Lions in a second, but before we do that, got a couple announcements. First off, got some new camera, I should say got some new equipment, period. New camera, new lights, new green screen. So if anything is funky or glitchy or whatever have you, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm still trying to play around with settings and things like that. But hey, thank you guys so much for the support the channel has seen as of late. It really has been crazy to me. And if you guys want to continue to show your support for the channel, I mean, you do that by interacting with the channel any way you can. That's watching the videos, that's subscribing, ringing the bell, liking, commenting, sharing, anything else you can think of to help interact with the channel helps to support what I do here on YouTube, and I appreciate everything that you guys are willing and or able to do here for this channel. And lastly, sometimes it can be a little tricky to determine, okay, who's opting out, who's entering the transfer portal, things like that. So Rebel fans, Nittany Lion fans, if I miss anybody or there's a new name that comes out that I'm not aware of that happens to be playing, not playing, things like that, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to read through what you guys have to say. But without further ado, let's dive on into the stats that both these teams have put up so far this season and officially start previewing our second New Year's 6 bowl game matchup. That's the Ole Miss Rebels and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Diving on in here to the Ole Miss Rebel offense, it's going to have all of its pieces here for this game against Penn State. Jackson Dart threw for 2,985 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. Announced he will be returning for his senior season next year, and the Ole Miss Rebels will be having him there as well. Quinshon Judkins looking to play in this game as well. 1,052 yards and 15 touchdowns for the Rebels this year. And Quinshon Judkins, while it was not as good of a season as he had last year, he has really picked up his rhythm. He has really found his running groove. He is starting to run, or actually, he is playing his best football right now, which is important if Ole Miss wants to win this bowl game. And then a ton of wide receiver weapons here as well. Trey Harris, Dayton Wade, Jordan Watkins, all have over 700 receiving yards on the year, and combined between them, 15 receiving touchdowns, including 8 of them to one by name of Trey Harris. Definitely this team's best downfield threat, averages 18.1 yards per catch. But when you take a look at what else this Ole Miss offense does well, I mean, it isn't one of the best offenses in the nation at third down. In fact, there are times where it really struggles at third down this year. The offensive line, hey, there have been times where that offensive line has really struggled this year as well. But a couple things that Ole Miss does well, and no, you won't see it here in the stat sheet. You can kind of infer, though, while Ole Miss likes to work fast, they also like to control the clock because they don't turn the football over. They only have 7 turnovers on the season. We'll talk about that as more of a theme here in just a little bit. But Ole Miss, they thrive on going fast. They thrive on keeping possession, taking advantage of every scoring opportunity they can. And this is an Ole Miss team that can play 2 different styles. They can slow it down and they can work the clock and run with the best of them, or they can just throw an 80-yard bomb on the first play to Trey Harris or Dayton Wade, and it'll work. But the thing that is very notable about this Ole Miss team that maybe you could say is a little bit different than teams in the past is this defense has finally started to find some sort of consistent rhythm. The problem with Ole Miss in the past couple of years is the defense just hasn't quite been there. And maybe it's not quite there according to Lane Kiffin standards quite yet. However, year after year after year, this is a Rebel defense that has consistently got better and better and better. And it's gotten a lot better at limiting the big plays this year. It's gotten a lot better at being able to create pressure to the quarterback. Now, one very notable player that is going to be out here of this game is Cedric Johnson for the Rebels. He co-leads the team with 5.5 sacks, co-leads the team with 1 Jared Ivey, who will be playing here in this game. But, I mean, you take a look up and down this roster. You got 1, 2, three, four, five other guys that have at least 2.5 sacks this year. So the pressure can come from anywhere. There's not just one sack dominant guy. Of course, not having Cedric Johnson on the edge is really going to hurt. But this is a team that absolutely is great at creating pressure. They can be really good at stopping the run there as well. And the pass defense, 12 interceptions, 41 passes defended on the air. And this is the team that has gotten much better on third down as the season has continued. When you flip on over to the side of the Penn State Nittany Lions, well, Drew Allar definitely has shown that he has a whole lot of promise, but he hasn't really been what I think Nittany Lion fans have wanted quite yet, for one simple reason that I will explain here in a minute. But let me go through the stat sheet first. 2,336 yards, 23 touchdowns, only one interception. This is the Penn State offense that has only turned the football over 6 times. Only one pick has been thrown by Drew Allar this year. But the reason I say that Drew Allar maybe hasn't quite lived up to expectations quite yet is that passing number total definitely could be a lot higher, and it's because Drew Allar has not really shown a whole lot of ability of a downfield passing game this year. That did change in their previous game against the Michigan State Spartans. We really saw Drew Allar develop that downfield passing game, and now that you've gotten a month to prepare for this contest, I expect Drew Allar to be able to sling the ball downfield. He does have some really good weapons to work with. Sadly, Theo Johnson will not be playing, so the tight end duties will end up going there to Tyler Warren, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Dante Cephas. You still have some really good weapons there that you can hit down the field, especially that in Keandre Lambert-Smith, who caught the 72-yard touchdown pass. But this offense is led by the dynamic backfield duo of Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, around 1,500 yards of total rushing between them, 14 total touchdowns between the two as well. And hey, Drew Allar has proven a time or two that he can get out and run. He has 4 rushing touchdowns this season. It's a pretty solid third down offense. The offensive line is one of the best in the country. However, it will be without one of the best offensive linemen in the country in Olu Fashanu. He has opted out to prepare himself for the NFL draft. And speaking of opt-outs, there is a notable opt-out here on the defensive side of the ball as well, and that is Chop Robinson. Only 15 tackles this year, but 4 sacks, 1 pass defended. His presence on the field is felt tenfold. However, you still are going to have a ton of really good defensive weapons here. Kobe King is still going to be there. Curtis Jacobs is still going to be there, your sack leader. And Adisa Isaac is still going to be playing. Abdul Carter looks to still be playing there as well. Johnny Dixon, out of the as a corner, has 4.5 sacks, and this is one of the best teams in the country at being able to generate pressure to the quarterback. They average 4 sacks per game, something that Ole Miss is going to have to watch out for. It's also one of the best rush defenses in the country. It has a really good pass defense as well, and it gets a huge get here when Kalen King announced that he will be suiting up for the Penn State Nittany Lions. On top of creating pressure, they force turnovers. They're really good here on a third down. This is a Penn State defense unlike anything that Ole Miss has seen up to the point this year, and Ole Miss has played Georgia so far this season. Guys, this all leads me into my what to watch for, your keys to the game, just some things I think you should keep an eye on here while you're paying attention to this one. For the Ole Miss Rebels, again, this is probably, you could make the argument why Georgia's better, but this is probably the best defense that you have faced, at least statistically, all season long. Penn State can do everything. They can defend the run. They can defend the pass. They force turnovers. They can bull rush you. They can drop back in coverage. Penn State can even get pressure with rushing 3 or 4 guys. So for the Ole Miss Rebels, it's all about keeping your balance. Mix up the play calling. If you throw a pass, run the ball. If you run the ball, throw a pass. It's all about keeping that offensive balance, keeping this Penn State defense on its toes, so that if Quinshaw Judkins happens to start struggling again, Penn State can't just throw out all their pieces to the pass rush and to the pass game there as well. We know Ole Miss likes to take those shots, but Quinshaw Judkins, he has to have a good game. Now, I expect him to. He's running as well as he has all season long, and he's starting to run as well as he did last year, but you have to keep that play calling mixed up and keep this Penn State defense on its heels. And it's an inevitability of this Penn State defense. It will force some turnovers. So if you are Jackson Dart, if you are this offensive line, you got to be able to at least somewhat limit the amount of pressure that Penn State is able to bring, especially off the edge. They like to bring those corner blitzes there with Johnny Dixon and so many other players there as well. Penn State is going to force a turnover or two here in this game, but it's up to Ole Miss to keep the offense efficient, make the smart play if you are Jackson Dart, and again, Quinshad Judkins going to have a good game as well. But for the Ole Miss defense, key in on this run game again. Allar has shown the downfield ball in one game. That's not really proving that you have a downfield ball. So if you can get in the backfield quickly, if this pass rush, if this defensive front can get into the backfield, create some negative plays, even get Drew Allar down on the ground for a sack when he drops back to pass, and that's only going to put a lot of momentum on the side of the Ole Miss Rebels. But I've talked about it so much, right? Allar's downfield passing ability. We know Allar can throw the short ones. We even know Allar can get outside of the pocket and create there as well. He showed the downfield potential in the game against Michigan State, and now it's time he proves it. If he can't prove it and he cannot consistently hit some of these downfield shots here, I would maybe, again, that's something that's going to be a point of emphasis in the offseason for sure, but if he cannot hit the downfield shots here and make this Ole Miss secondary pay for the potential big play that they give up every now and again, and especially if Ole Miss is able to slow down this run game here with Singleton and Allen, that's going to provide a lot of trouble here for Penn State. It's time for Allar to prove that downfield passing ability. But defensively, it's all about keeping up the stout run defense. Quinshad Judkins is the X factor here. If you can limit him, you're going to be able to limit a lot of things that this Ole Miss offense does, and then it only plays in the hands there of Penn State if they can shell out all of their resources to Jackson Dart in this explosive pass game. Speaking of which, get Jackson Dart on the ground early and often. Be able to provide that pressure. You're one of the best, if not the best team in the country, creating pressure to the quarterback. You need to show it here in this game. But along with turnovers, I think the third down battle will seal it. Ole Miss just happens to struggle way too much for me to trust them on a consistent basis there on third down. Vegas, this line has started to really jump. Penn State is now favored by Penn State's now favored by 4.5 points. And because of this defense, I am going with the Penn State Nittany Lions. Look, Ole Miss, it's an inevitability of this offense, an inevitability of playing Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss is going to hit its big shots down the field. But I think this Penn State defense will create enough pressure, will create enough havoc in the backfield, will slow down Quinshad Judkins enough. And Drew Allar, I mean, you saw this is the Penn State offense that's only turned the ball over 6 times here. This is the Penn State defense that goes out and forces turnovers. I like the Nittany Lions here in the Chik-Fil-A Peach Bowl. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.